What's happening, everyone? Today, I am with Erika here from all the way from San Antonio.
It's me.
And so you deal with organ transplants. Some are scheduled, some are maybe a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you give us kind of like a little bit of background on what you do exactly?
Yeah. So I have an opportunity to work with donor families. So anytime a family makes a decision that their loved one isn't going to have the quality of life that they would want to have, or if they, whatever medical issue that they've got going on is come to where they're making those end of life decisions, I get to go in and visit with those families and let them know if their loved one has an opportunity to move forward as an organ donor. Some people are registered. Some people check that box when you go to the DMV. Like, yeah, I'm not going to take it with me. You can have it all.
Got the pink dot?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And so in Texas, it's a heart.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
That's darling.
And so so I go in and I visit with these families and talk to them about what donation looks like. Talk to them a little bit about honoring their needs as a family, what it looks like in those last moments, and then honoring what that patient would want, knowing that they would want to move forward, saving lives. And so it's a little bit of, it's good and bad. I mean, it's everybody's worst day, right? Like you're going in, most of these situations are tragic. Most families that we deal with are not, like, oh, my loved one's been sick with cancer for 5 years and now they're at the end of this road. It's, they had a car accident. It was, we get a lot of self-inflicted gunshots, things like that, and it's just, and it's a rough time. So we see a lot of sadness, and this is kind of I think for a lot of families, myself included, when my sister was a donor in 2010, it's something peaceful that comes in the form that you don't get it through anything else. I mean, you're losing this. It's horrible. Everything is awful. It feels sad and angry, but you can look at it and know that there is something peaceful on the other side of this.
Yeah, it's almost like, I mean, it would have to be some kind of surprise like that, right? They couldn't have cancer. They couldn't be like like a severe drug user.
Actually,
and
they
do
can.
That, right?
They actually can. So the world of donation has come so far in the last several years. We don't accept patients that have cancer or have had cancer within the last 5 years. And really that has a lot to do with the fact that you can't guarantee that those cells are not going to go into a recipient patient. And it's just out of protection. But we take lots of patients that have been long-time drug users, long-time alcohol users. We take people that are HIV positive. We take people that have hepatitis. Those are questions we get asked a lot from our families, and they're like, oh, you can't do that because their organs aren't worth anything. But when you have a patient on that list, and there's 103,000 people right now waiting on a transplant. So when you have a patient on a list and they know that their days are numbered, then accepting, something that's less than perfect is going to give them a few extra years. It may be the one thing that walks their daughter down the aisle. It may be the one thing that has, a grandmother present when her daughter's giving birth to their first grandbaby. It's maybe it's just a matter of graduating high school. Maybe it's your first day of kindergarten. Those are all milestones that our recipients are being able to go through. Being able to finally experience through that gift of donation.
So, if it's a kid, like a little kid needs a heart, would it have to be another kid, or they couldn't accept another adult? They couldn't accept an adult heart, right?
So it's based on size, and so mostly if you have an infant, it's going to give to another infant. A smaller child, you can actually take both kidneys from a smaller child and use that for an adult. But most things are based on size: heart, lungs, liver, kidneys, things like that. So, the kidneys less of an issue, but everything else is based on size. So if you've got a bigger recipient, you're going to need a bigger donor. But yeah, it's most kids go to kids.
I know that there's some, so the liver is one thing that you can donate and still be alive, right? I mean, you don't donate the whole thing.
Correct.
Right. But it'll grow.
Regenerates.
It'll grow. Yeah. It grows back. Right.
Yeah,
So is there anything else like that you can donate and live?
So you can donate a kidney. We have I work with lots of families that are actually living donors. We've got some people that I've worked with recently that are going through testing to be living donors. And so you could actually, as a healthy adult person, could donate a kidney to somebody else who's in need, and you can function fine on one kidney.
Yeah. I mean, because I always see those, you see those stories of like somebody that would, somebody's kid died in like you said, a car accident or some kind of freak accident, right? Where it was a surprise death. And then like somebody will get their heart and then they'll show up at their wedding. And it's like, it's hard to watch, especially like in the mornings, but it's gotta be a really rewarding thing to kind of be the facilitator almost in that,
there's a selfishness there with it. Like I said, my sister was a donor in 2010, and so we went through and just the process itself, and went through some tissue donation with her, and we received letters from those recipients afterwards, and you don't even know what a gift it is, and until you're a patient in need or somebody that you love is in need, you have no idea how important that gift is. And, I love seeing the stories of, somebody listening to that person's heart, when they're in that moment, whatever it is, the wedding or the having the baby or doing all of those things. I love it. I think, it doesn't matter if you're religious, doesn't matter what your thought process is how we got here, but we are all humans and we are all created the same. Our bodies are all the same. And while our brains are different and that's what makes us who we are, everything else we have is exactly the same. And so to be able to give something from myself, my core, other than having children, to be able to give that gift of life is so sacred. And I know for those recipient families, they understand that you had to lose a loved one or this person had to pass in order for them to be blessed with that life moving forward. And so there's so much love there. There's so much honor. There's so much respect. And I think that they approach life differently after the fact. Those recipients do. And I think for donor families, I've had them come back to me, I can't tell you how many times, and said, this is the only thing that pulled me through losing my daughter, my husband, my child. It's the only thing that made it okay.
Yeah. God. I mean, that's like when you talk about losing a child, I mean, I can't imagine, especially like those people like in Texas, like where you're from.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine. I don't even know if I could think that far in advance, like to be like, okay, yeah, do what you need to do or whatever, because I mean, depending on the circumstances, I mean, I don't know. Yeah. Like you never really, I guess, know till you get there. And like, I wouldn't wish that on anyone,
I think one of the hardest parts of my job is to go in and talk to a family of a child. And it doesn't matter if it's their first or their eighth, it's still their baby. It doesn't matter if they're 18 or if they're 8 days old. When we go in and talk to parents, I think it really has to be respectful, because you are asking somebody to give up more. They've already lost. There's this baby, they're laying there. It doesn't matter what the situation is. It doesn't matter how that child got there. That baby belongs to somebody, and somebody worked hard to bring it into the world. And you go in and ask a parent to consider not only losing their child, but losing a piece of their child to save another child. How do you do that? Like, how do you reconcile that? When I do that with these parents, I really have to remind myself what big what big favor I'm asking of them, but to give them the opportunity to know that there is another mother and a child in her arms, maybe right down the hallway, that is going to be bearing her child as well without that gift of a heart or a liver or a kidney. And most parents, believe it or not, will always say, I don't want anybody else to feel the way I do. If my child, losing my child, if this can be something that this other family doesn't have to experience, I'm willing to do this. And it is not, it's not a small ask. It's a big ask, and it is for adults as well. But there's something about these babies that are so innocent and so pure, and they haven't had an opportunity to wreak havoc and make bad decisions and do, silly things and make all of those memories. And we're asking a parent to allow their child to move forward as a donor so that another child has that opportunity. And it feels really sad at times, but the outcome of that and knowing that this family will have peace in the legacy that their child is leaving behind by giving this gift to another, and that family moving forward. And that family moving forward is just, it's nothing short of miraculous, really.
I mean, I imagine that you said most of them would generally, like, they understand, but the ones that don't, like, do people ever, like, I don't know, like, is it a surprise that you're coming up to them, or they kind of know, or?
I would say most people do not anticipate it. Donation's not something we talk about. It's really not. It's so,
well, because it's almost like
such a foreign concept.
Yeah. It's almost like I died, ? Somebody gets a heart, kind of, it's, you never really know what happens. Like, what's the communication? Like, hey, this guy died. How quickly do they really assess that this guy has a good heart? Or like, maybe I had, like, I don't know, maybe I ate a bunch of McDonald's and I've got a bunch of fat around, because I look okay, but I am severely addicted to McDonald's or something, How do they assess that kind of thing?
So we have some of the best clinical coordinators ever. And they spend days, usually 2 to 3 days. We go through patients' charts. We go through medical records. The process of donation gives us an allowance to look at that kind of stuff. We will run extra testing, just being very mindful of anything that we'd be putting that patient through, being very, very cautious about how we treat things. We don't want to make it worse. We don't want to ever make their condition worse. So we evaluate things and just we're looking at a heart like the echo, and what we're looking at is seeing how well it pumps, how strong it is, how much we think it could benefit a recipient. So there's a lot of numbers that go into play there, but they spend a lot of time looking at everything. They individualize every organ, run some tests, and then they put it out to the transplant centers. Ultimately, it's the transplant center's decision of whether or not they're going to accept those organs. And so, and a lot of them are, they're really picky. You got to think about it. If you've got one patient that's got maybe 2 to 3 weeks of life left, then you want to make sure that you're getting a really good kidney or a really good heart for that patient. And so sometimes you're getting down to, and it's probably sounds crass, but I'm going to say like a B team organ. It's not great. It's not fantastic, but it may get this patient who needs something now, or they're not going to make it much longer. It's going to give them another little lease on life until maybe there's something different that comes
maybe
along.
Like a bridge.
Yeah.
A little stopgap.
And I hate to say it like that, but that's the truth of it.
But that's kind of like, that's for me or you, we can say that, right? But for somebody that is waiting for it, they don't have that kind of luxury. They live a different life. They live a life to survive where, I live a life to pay bills, I guess, we all do, but, but that's also like, you have to look at that sometimes as a luxury.
Yeah.
you know?
And I think that when you think about 103,000 people being on a wait list, I cannot tell you how many people just in San Antonio, we've got probably another 7,000 people that don't qualify for a kidney transplant at this point in time, but they're on dialysis 5 days a week. And so when you're looking at that, this kidney may not be a great long-term solution for certain patients, but to be able to explore that can we get this patient off dialysis 5 days a week? Maybe they're on dialysis once or twice a week. Give them some freedom, some opportunities to enjoy, have a decent quality of life that they wouldn't have otherwise. And so I think that exploring those, and that's definitely some of the changes that are coming in the transplant world, is we're looking more critically at what we can do with this organ, what we can give as far as the recipients. What can we give them? Can we improve their quality? Can we get them off some medications? Can we get them out of a dialysis center 5 days a week? Can we get them through to something until something else comes along?
Forgive me, but I can't help but equate this to because I come from the world of cars and things. And so when we had our I guess both kids, they had to do a C-section. So they took all the pieces out, right, of my wife. And so I was watching this and I'm like, it looks exactly what happens if I have to take out the power steering pump, which is all the way at the bottom. You take out everything and it's people are a bunch of parts.
We are.
And so even my car, I had this truck, which that's the motor from it. And, it was a donor. And it will go in the Camaro. It will live on and it'll be a little faster, but it's kind of it's something that you can appreciate. And it's almost I don't know. I mean, I hate to think about this, but if an athlete passes away, right, and they have a really kicking heart or something that they've worked hard, that's I don't know. You'd really want that, but is there anybody that's this is a AAA, this is a top heart?
It's funny because you think about it like that, right? In terms of ratings.
Yeah.
And we look at certain things like patient's age, look at their past medical history, what they've been doing, why they were brought in, things like that. Not too long ago, we had an older patient, and older, in his 70s. And we were okay, normally we would never look at lungs on a 70-year-old patient, but his lungs were really good. And his family was he wanted to be a donor. Anything you can take, let's take it. So we did a little bit of work and ended up transplanting this mid-70-year-old man's lungs into a 50-something-year-old woman. And for us, that was monumental because it was saying our medical care is so good. Our opportunities to be able to improve organ function is really great. And when we have families that are very supportive of donation and know that this is what their loved one would want, then we've got an ability to move forward with those a little bit. And things that 10 years ago were totally off the table are now it's not even a consideration. It's actually happening. And so that's when we're really looking, there is a recipient list, and those people that are on that list are graded in terms of how critically ill they are. So the organs themselves aren't graded necessarily, but the transplant center gets all the information. And if you've got a super, super sick patient, and it comes down to accepting whether or not, you're going to take this kidney or this liver or whatever it might be, those transplant centers have to make some really hard calls. Those surgeons, those physicians that are treating those patients have to make some really hard calls. I think what we're doing is just trying to make sure that when we're having those organs donated now from those donor patients, and it's been in the news recently, and anybody else can look at it and tell you that there's been a higher rate of discarding, meaning when we get into the OR, those transplant centers are you know what, we're not going to use these kidneys. And so then they just let them go. And so I think that they're taking really a deeper look and what we can do to make that better, to stop discarding kidneys in an OR and finding, like I said, these patients may not be on a transplant list, but they're willing to take, anything is better than 5 days on dialysis. So being able to explore that a little further. So would for a kidney, would that be just
heavy drinkers that it would be bad, or?
No, actually, drinking more affects the liver first, and then affects the kidneys. I mean, they kind of are married, and so when you affect one, you'll affect the other eventually. But what we're seeing that mostly affects things like when you're on dialysis, you're on medications, you've got things just are not working. A lot of it is diet related, diabetes related, things like that. Diabetes is probably the number one that we see when people will just progress into kidney failure. But it can be a matter of anything. I mean, I've seen it be infection related. I've seen young 20-year-olds with infections that resulted in heart failure. So it just, sometimes there's not really a rhyme or reason that you can put your finger on, but definitely with the kidneys is the most recipients waiting on an organ right now are for kidneys. Liver would be next. So
I know that, and like, I know, I don't know a whole lot about the human body and everything, even though I've been a human all my life.
Have you?
But, I know people with like the type 1 diabetes, right? The kids, the juvenile diabetes. And that seems like it'd be cured with like a pancreas transplant. Would that be something that it has ever done? I never really heard of that.
So yes, one organ donor can donate up to 8 organs, and the pancreas is one. So we have the heart, we have liver, we have 2 kidneys, we have 2 lungs, pancreas, and then we have also intestine transplants that are done. And so there's, an opportunity to save people with all of those. So the pancreas is probably less transplanted than most of our organs. Pancreas and intestines are going to be the least 2 transplanted things. But it definitely, they're seeing that they're using it more for research to kind of figure out what you can do for these patients. They're using it to look at diabetes medications. They're looking at to, especially if you're not using kidneys for transplant, they're using that for research as well. So that's one of the things that they're constantly looking at when we talk about medical research.
It seems like it would be like one of the trickier ones.
Which
I guess a pancreas. I guess when you think of it, also like a heart, because that's a pretty big deal in people.
Yeah.
But I just have known a lot of people with juvenile diabetes, and it's like, well, it seems like that should be like a more common thing, like for people to get that replaced, and just I guess just aren't diabetic anymore or something like that. I don't really know how that works exactly.
I think it's probably one of the areas that the research is going to increase in exponentially over the years, because there's so much more research done in juvenile diabetes. There's so much more research being done in, like when they're looking at transplants, taking different cells from the pancreas. One of the primary functions there is to help establish your body's insulin levels and how that functions, how that works. And so being able to continue looking at that and how it works. Is a whole transplant necessary to transplant the whole pancreas? Can we just transplant islet cells? There's different things that are being done. So I would love to see more of it happen. I think it's necessary. I think that the type 1 and type 2, my dad is type 2 diabetic and in stage kidney failure. So I want lots of research done there. It'd be nice to see.
Oh man. So I imagine your sister probably had something to do with you getting into this business.
So initially, I'd never really even thought about donation. I was a paramedic years ago, and
nice.
Our philosophy, you just get them to the hospital, you treat them, do what you need to right now, get them to the hospital, let everybody else take care of the big stuff. I laugh because people are like, oh, I don't want to register as a donor because they're going to let me die. Not being aware that you have to be alive for us to begin a donation process. And then you have to pass away on your own for it to be a donor process. And we don't take organs from live people. You have to be deceased, but it has to be a monitored passing, if you will. Right. And so the process is a little different. So I started out as a paramedic, never really thought about donation. When my sister passed away, it was not unexpected. She had a traumatic brain injury as a baby, led to her having seizures that resulted in a heart attack. But my dad and I never even discussed whether or not we were going to proceed with donation. It was just Yes, absolutely. I mean, yeah, she would do it. So it's not even up to us. It's just doing what she would want to do. The process itself was not great. We didn't get a lot. We didn't get a lot of support. We didn't get a lot of questions answered. It was kind of just something, and that was only 15 years ago. It was just, I think, where we are, or we were in Texas at the time, and we didn't get a lot of information. We kind of walked away from it blindly, but it ended up being one of the things my dad gravitated back to every year. They would have these donor recognition ceremonies. They would honor the donors of the previous year, and my dad wanted to be a part of that. It was really sweet for him. And then I actually worked at Child Protective Services for about 10 years and worked a lot of child death cases.
Oh, God.
A lot of what we refer to as non-accidental traumas. And so there was several opportunities I had to interact with families, talk to them about the opportunities of donation in that world. And that kind of transitioned me to nursing school, and then from being an ICU nurse into just working with donation 100%. And that's all I do now. I absolutely love it. I think that me personally, I have an opportunity to go in and really impact how these families are dealing with their trauma and just, I mean, how hurt they are, how sad they are, and being able to navigate through that while offering them this opportunity. I mean, that less than 3% of the population of the United States has an opportunity to be a donor. And so when we say it's rare, it really is. And
why,
so I think
why 3%?
Because there's so many criteria that you have to meet. Like when I tell you have to be alive, you really do. Most of our patients, you've got to be on a ventilator for us to even be able to evaluate you as a donor. You have to have exhausted, or your healthcare team has to have exhausted what they can do to treat you or to improve you. The families need to make that decision that they're ready for end of life, that they know that that's where they're at with their families or with their loved one. And then we have to go in and evaluate where they are physically, and if they have the opportunity to be a donor. So even when you go check that box, only 1% of people that actually check that box to be a donor has an opportunity to do that. So, I mean, it's a big deal. So my sister was definitely a catalyst, I think, for how I approached donation, and then staying in, where I just kind of stumbled into it more and more, and being able to work with families, and as a bedside nurse, participating in honor walks that were just, and I don't know if you've ever seen one on, social media, they're kind of blowing up now, but to be able to honor that patient as we're walking them, literally walking them their last journey to the OR, acknowledging what a hero that they're going to be, having their family be there, and the healthcare team and friends and family and just people that happen to be in the hallway at the time to just stand and go, what's going on, but to know that donation is affecting all of those people. It's not just this one donor patient. It's not just those recipients. It's everybody there that has worked so hard, or that has been a part of it somehow, or that supports it, or just, and whether that's in prayers for the family, or just uplifting them, or holding space for them, or being part of the healthcare team that's helped us get there for those donor patients and the recipients on the other side of that. It's just, there's nothing more fulfilling.
Jeez. I mean, you couldn't be like somebody like right now, like me or you, being healthy and being evaluated, right? Because you kind of have to be on that transition out, right? That's what you said.
You do.
I have to be on a ventilator or something.
Unless you sign up to be a living donor, where you're gonna donate a kidney to a person in need, and both of you are gonna walk out of the hospital and live happy, healthy lives afterwards. That's a little bit different. But as far as our deceased donor status, yeah, you have to start out where we can manage you on a ventilator. We're just watching how things progress, and then we plan a time to actually stop all of those life sustaining measures. It's just like when people transition to comfort care, is a lot of times you'll hear that term. But it's when you've decided to take your loved one off of that machine, the machines stop keeping the body alive. The medications by the healthcare team are given to keep that patient comfortable in their body, in their mind, and making sure that they're not suffering at all. And then they have to pass away on their own. And when they do, then we immediately take them to recovery for those organs that they're going to gift. So
that it's so, I mean, so you went from CPS to paramedic to the organ donating, and it's like, oh God, that's a lot to take in. That's a lot of all kinds of different trauma to take in.
It is. It is.
What made you want to start with CPS? I mean, it's just because,
Yeah.
I just.
My therapist would tell you that trauma attracts trauma. And I think that when my sister passed away, it rocked me. I mean, it did. I only had one. My sister died in 2010. My mom passed away 8 years before that, in 2002. And I was 24 when my mom passed. She was 44. And she had taken her own life. And then my sister died later from, these seizures. And then it was just me and my dad. And I think living through traumas that affect you in such a way and learning how you can cope with that changes how you see things moving forward. And so I think that it just became this safe place for me. As strange as that might sound, I think that there's a peace in that darkness, and that it's something that I have, something that's ingrained in me, is to go in and find the tiniest of lights and to bring that out. And if I can walk out with that light and do something with it, then I've succeeded. And so it's just my little pebble every day that I just create my own peace. And it is hard. I mean, it is hard. Like I said, it's everybody's worst day, and I'm lucky to be able to love on these families, but I go home to my family, and I am absolutely blessed with 4 of the best boys you could ever imagine.
Whoa!
I know.
Jeez.
And they are amazing. I have an amazing daughter-in-law. I have a granddaughter who absolutely hung the moon, and I couldn't be happier. I mean, I have all these perfect things. And I think working through my trauma and helping other people work through theirs is that continuation to just me creating my beautiful place. So,
I mean, I can't imagine a better way to harness that trauma,
Yeah.
That's wild.
I quit my job like 3 times a week. I like we all probably do. I'm like, I'm not going back. I'm not doing this. I can't handle it. And then I'm like, okay, I can be back in like 45 minutes. Just let me grab a Coke and a smile, and I'm going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine.
Jeez.
So, yeah.
I mean, I would need a cold beer. To be honest with that, with all that, at the very least.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe some sweet tarts too at that, but I can't imagine I mean, hats off to you for all that. That's an insane way to handle your trauma. That's an insane way to imagine your sister being able to see you now. Is how many people have been saved because of that, because of her basically getting you into this.
Yeah. And I think, there was initially when she passed, there was this guilt because I'd taken care of her for years, and when she had that final seizure, I mean, we were there and doing CPR, and it didn't, and as hard as that was, I felt totally at peace because I knew she was going to go. I knew she was gone. I knew there was nothing else that could be done. So I didn't have a guilt like I could have saved her. I had a guilt because we didn't live life to the fullest like we should have. I had a guilt because she didn't get to experience so many things. And so in my discussions with my families and talking to them about what they have an opportunity to gift these other families, like my sister who never got married, never had a baby, and just things that she didn't get to do. Our donor families are giving these other families a chance to do that. And so it's me being able to advocate for our recipients as much as it is to love on our donor families. And I think it is full circle. I mean, I think everything we do comes back to who we are. And I think you have to work for the greater good of the people around you, or we as humans are going to fail. So,
yeah, I mean, no doubt about that. You won't get any argument from me there. So take us through maybe when you, because obviously you are here in Sacramento. You don't live here.
I don't.
You're welcome here, but you don't live here.
And I love it here. I am a contractor, and I travel. So I get to actually get to travel around the whole United States. I mean, I've been all over the country, East Coast, West Coast. And so I go where I'm needed, because our family care department, which is where I'm in now, what we consider family care, it's hard to staff. It's hard to keep staff. It's hard for people to want to stay here. It's a emotionally taxing position. It takes a lot, and I have an opportunity to travel to do that. So I'm out here like 2 weeks this time. Sometimes it's 7 days, sometimes it's a little more, but I love it because the population all over the country is different. And so I was just recently in Albuquerque. And so just to get to interact with people there, and the way that they see life and their perspectives, and just their culture is different, and the way it is in Minneapolis is different, and the way it is in Florida is different. And the way, it's just, I get Tennessee is different. All of those places. So you get to interact with these different people. They have different religious beliefs, and just the way that they love on their family, the way that they grieve. I am constantly learning to make myself a better person, and to be able to interact with my families better, and to love on them in the way that they can accept it so much better. So yeah, that's what I do. I just travel.
Yeah, it is kind of like a consortium of countries,
Yeah.
That it's because I get sent around sometimes for my job too. And so I went to Ohio, and it's, they have all kinds of, it's so much, it's so, the people are different. The food is different. It's a different feel. Like driving on the roads are different, because everybody will ride your ass until like you get over, and then you get over right behind them, and you ride it, and you just keep doing that. You could just keep doing it. But here in California, it's like you just are riding everybody's ass, and you just like, it's a different way. I've never driven in Texas.
Oh, don't.
Really?
You just don't.
No?
It's terrible. I love Texas. I'm all about my Texas flag. We have some of the worst drivers I've ever seen in my entire life across this whole nation. Some of the very worst drivers I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's weird, because you guys have the most space. It's like you have a lot of space to practice.
We think it's all our space, though. We're very greedy at times.
Oh.
So yeah, no. It's, and where I'm at in San Antonio, it's a fairly small geographical area, and then you shove 1.8 million people in it, and then they all want their own car, and they all want to drive 90, which I do too. I can't even be mad about that. But,
and the coyotes.
Oh, and coyotes. Yeah, we have deer that cross the road in the middle of the day. So yeah, it's like, no, it's worst drivers ever. Worst drivers ever. Yeah.
Well, you heard it here first,
I'm
folks.
owning it, Texas.
I didn't say it.
So terrible.
But that is so if you're sent out here, like, is that, so then is there like, they have appointments set up for you, or like you are supposed to call and visit people like that are.
So the hospitals make referrals, and they have their criteria that they go off of. So I work for an OPO, which is an organ procurement organization. There are 55 of them nationwide. We're federally mandated, and governed by the same system that governs like Medicare, Medicaid, right? And so they set forth kind of our rules of who we should be looking at for potential organ donation, what we would consider a viable candidate. The hospital has criteria that when they have a patient that they believe is not going to survive their injury, or at those end of life decisions with the family, then they are obligated to report those. We go in, we evaluate, and see if that donor may have potential, and if so, then we make arrangements to go in and visit with the healthcare team, talk to them about our process. Most of them are very aware of it. We have hospital development coordinators that are constantly feeding the hospital information on what they need from the OPO, and then feeding the OPO what the hospital needs, so that we have these really great relationships with them that we're continuing to improve every day. And once the hospital has called in that referral, then I go in and assess when a family is ready to maybe have that conversation about donation. I think it's really good to give those families information early on when they know that things are really bad, because you don't want to wait until they're like, okay, we can't do it anymore. We want to stop the machine, stop everything, because at that point we don't have time to do our workup for that patient to be a donor. And so we really need, at minimum, 24 hours. 48 hours is great. If we can have a little bit more, it's even better. But I want to be able to to tell the families, this is an opportunity that your loved one could have. This is what it would look like. This is what it would mean for you, your family, the patient, the recipients that they would save. And then let them just think about that. It's in the back of their mind. And then when they're making decisions, it's there. It's not the first time they've heard about it. People don't talk about donation. We just don't. We check that box and we go on about our business, and then nobody ever talks about it again until somebody is dying. We don't have conversations with our families. Yes, I want to be an organ donor. I can't tell you how many times I go in on an unregistered patient and the family will go, I don't know if they want that or not. I don't know if we never talked about it. They know that they want to be cremated. They know that they, want to wear their 49ers jersey in their casket to, when they're having their viewing. They know that they want to be buried with their first Megadeth album, the first one that they ever bought when they were 15 years old. They know all of these things, but they don't know if their loved one wants to be an organ donor. And so we just don't talk about it. It's weird, right? So I like to go in, talk to the families, give them the information, and then when they're making those final decisions, we round back with them and let them decide if their loved one's going to be a donor or not, and then walk them through the process. So I may spend 45 minutes with this family. I may spend 4 days with this family. So,
do you ever run into like a situation where somebody is they've kind of already decided, like, hey, I'm going to give my kidney to this guy, or I'm something like it's already pre thought out, I guess, before they go. I mean,
okay. So not that exact situation, but we do have a program. It's called directed donation. So if I meet with you and your loved one, that they're not going to survive this injury, they wouldn't want to live on machines, and you're making the decision for that end of life, but your sister needs a kidney, we have what's called directed donation. And so if you wanted and your loved one is going to move forward as a donor, we can evaluate this donor patient, and then we get in touch with your sister's transplant center and said, hey, if our donor patient is a match for this recipient, this person who needs a kidney, it would go there first. And so that is, we have to establish that there's some kind of a connection, right? You've got some sort of a relationship with this person. But we've had people that, I recently had a patient whose coworker, her husband had a heart attack and actually was on the ventilator, was going to pass. She made the decision for him to be a donor, and his lungs went to his coworker, the wife's coworker, that she'd worked with for like 20 plus years, who had been on a transplant list. She had long COVID. She got super sick, needed a lung transplant, and her husband's lungs actually went to this patient. And so it didn't matter where that recipient was on the list, because it is a directed donation. So that's something that we're able to offer donor families. A lot of our families that move forward with donation have some sort of experience with having a loved one that's on a recipient list, that's in need of a life-saving organ. And so, they understand the importance of donation. So when we do that, they're like, hey, and if that loved one is not a match, it wouldn't go to them. But it's where we try first. So that's definitely something that we look at, something that we try, again, to honor our donor families with by giving them, if they've got somebody in need, giving them that first opportunity to be a match.
I mean, it's always like, you never know. I mean, because it could have been like, maybe I wanted to buy this guy's Nova and I only had $5,000, but I'm like, hey, I'll stop drinking for a little while. You can have just a little bit of my liver, and I mean, because it could be.
Okay, so I know that that's talked about. I think I read a book about it like one time. Totally illegal, and not
is it illegal?
It is, and it's not how we operate in the donation world.
Well, that's good to know.
And it's people. I get lots of times I'll have families ask me like, is this going to go to somebody that has health insurance or that doesn't, or somebody that can afford it or not afford it? The thing about being on the recipient list, it doesn't matter how rich you are or how poor you are. You're on that list because you are sick and you need an organ, and your list is based on how in need that patient is. So the most critical patients are at the top. It doesn't matter what color they are, what religion they are, how much money they have, if they have insurance. None of that matters. It is where they fall because they are in need. And so our donor patients, when we look, we start by going through the top of the list. And when we start offering transplant centers, say, hey, we've got this patient, we've got lungs, liver, kidneys, heart, whatever we're able to gift, that's where they start looking at number one on the list, whoever's the most sick. And then it goes down. So, yeah.
It goes down based on whoever that is a positive recipient for or something, right?
Yeah, whoever they match with. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
God, yeah,
so
it's
you
such
can't you can't use it to buy something to fix up that Camaro out there.
So I am worthless.
You are.
Fair enough. I mean, that's okay. That's only the second woman that's told me that today. But that is, it is a wild, not necessarily business, but like, and I guess not industry either, but it's an interesting like niche that has to be filled, or because somebody has to facilitate this communication. Somebody actually should be talking to that family, like not like what happened to you guys, where it seemed like they kind of dropped the ball, and they didn't treat you like human beings.
And I stand beside the fact that it's just, that was 15 years ago. Things were different then. Geographically, we were hard to get to. So there's not somebody like me available for every hospital. It just can't work that way. I wish it could. And ideally one day it will be like that. But I think it just where we were, and somebody had to call us on the phone, and that's how the initial conversation took place, and which is never ideal. Like, hi, I'm sorry your loved one has passed away or is going to pass away, but they have an opportunity to be a donor. It feels very, aside from it just being insensitive, it feels very, like you said, almost business-like.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't feel like that. Donation shouldn't feel like a business.
Yeah, it's almost like that's a really hard thing to talk about over the phone initially.
For sure.
Like that kind of thing. It's because, you always see like the knock at the door, or, like the cops that knock at the door, or like the military knocks at the door, and like they tell you, I'm sorry. And, then the mom screams and everything. But with a phone call, that's it. Like, that's so hard to just have that be the initial one, especially if they're not expecting it.
Yeah, it is. And unfortunately, we still do things like that. I mean, even today. I think we're trying to work on changing that system. We're trying to improve that. But ultimately, sometimes it's just going to be a necessity. If I'm here in Sacramento, but I have to talk to a spouse or a parent or somebody else that's in Ohio, it's going to have to be a phone call.
Yeah.
So we handle that delicately. We get lots of training, lots of follow up on how to best handle those things. And again, I think just throughout my years, learning how to assess people's understanding of the situation, really grasp how they're dealing with that, seeing what their grief looks like, and being able to just kind of hone in on what they need in that moment. I will always be a good family support person before I'm a donation advocate, because my families need love. That's what they need right now. And donation is, in my mind, it is something beautiful and something positive that is going to come out of this loss. But I have to present that to the family when they're ready to hear it, when they're ready to receive that, because some people you just can't get there. So we have to handle that really delicately. So being able to really take time and learn, being able to read the room, being able to switch gears really quickly, being able to de-escalate things. It's a lot. It's a lot to have to just pull all together. So, and over the phone is terrible.
Yeah. So I know you probably don't have a lot to do with like the decision of like, I guess whoever's decision is to say you get this heart,
Right.
because we've all had that question when we have like, I guess middle school and elementary school where it's like, these two people are both recipients for this heart. They both need it. There's only one heart. This person is in, I don't know, college, and this person is like an electrician or something, and you're supposed to decide, like, who are those people? Like, that is an insane.
I will say that the way that the system is set up really takes a lot of that out of it, because we don't know anything about the patient or the recipient that's in need other than where they're located, their age, and kind of what their health issues are. But where they fall on the list, there's only one person at that number, and so we deal with so many transplant centers, and if I'm a mama, my baby is the most sick. I don't care where he's at on the list. He is the most sick. And so there's sometimes that we have to use like basic geography to decide, because like in Sacramento, are we going to be able to, is that patient, you've got two and one is here, maybe in the Bay Area, but you've got the other one who's in, I don't know, Louisiana. Where's it going to go? Well, the liver can only be out of the body so long. So, it's geography is going to rule that this patient is, is going to be who gets that.
Plus, it's been drinking this nasty California water we have out here. So it's used to it.
we have it in Texas too. It's the only thing California and Texas might have in common is nasty water.
We die without the mercury. We shrivel up.
You know what? So is it really why your mercury levels are so high? Like fish and people eat so much of that. Is that really a true thing here?
I've thought about that
because about this week.
I see people like, so I used to work in like San Francisco and the Bay Area and stuff. So I used to pass like the bay over by where Candlestick was a lot, and people are always fishing there, and and they're collecting like crabs and stuff. You don't collect crabs or stuff like that for like catch and release.
No.
So they're eating that. Sometimes they catch like little like nurse sharks or leopard sharks or whatever, but I don't know about those. But they're eating something out of there, and you think like, oh, it's the Bay Area, it must have such great seafood, but why? Like, because we're close to a polluted bay? By that logic, you could get fresh seafood in Montana.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's like, I think it could be the mercury.
Okay.
I'm
not going to hold you to it, but I definitely need to do some research because I'm curious.
It could be the mercury levels have risen so much. And so like, I guess the higher up on the food chain that you get, the more chance of mercury being in there is.
Okay.
So those guys that are eating shark, but the crab, they might be okay. The crab guys. I
may be strictly crab when I'm here. So
wow. Luckily there's no shortage of imitation crab at these sushi places. Right. So California rolls. That's why they call them California rolls. You can't be eating the real crab. Imitation crab has no mercury.
And I would know the difference because that's really what I eat in Texas. We don't get fresh crab in Texas.
Oh, what?
No, there's probably some places that do. Like, I can't be knocking all of Texas. Some places I'm sure get fresh crab. If by fresh you mean packaged on ice and dry ice and shipped from thousands of miles away.
Oh. Yeah. Well, I can't imagine that the Gulf is any cleaner than the Bay.
No.
Maybe worse so. Because there's oil there.
I've had some really good redfish and flounder from the coast.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, flounder's really good.
Oh, well, if you go down, so if you just bypass the Bay Area and you either go north or south from it, then you're good.
Okay.
Like if you go down to Monterey, I think you're okay. If you go up to like probably Mendocino-ish area, then you're probably okay there too.
Okay.
But just steer clear of the bay.
Okay.
Just leave that for the sea lions.
Okay.
Okay.
Done.
That's
You
why
don't
they're
have to
so
tell me
lazy.
twice.
It's when I think about that, because I grew up here and I know that like there's always been sea lions there, right? At the piers in San Francisco. And so why is that like not a big great white shark haven? You know, I mean, why? Like you guys, these things are lazy as hell.
Yeah.
You bump that little dock and 2 or 3 of them are falling off.
Yes.
You know?
I just watched something about this sea lion that they built a raft. It was a couch, but they made it into like this raft because he was somewhere he shouldn't have been, like thousands of miles away from home. And so they built this little raft for him because he kept climbing up on these boats, and he's so big and they were so small he would capsize them. So they built this little raft for him to float on like a couch. I was like, man, I'm coming back as a sea lion.
Man, we should have done that for my Uncle Jimmy. He'd love that.
Oh God.
Shout out Uncle Jimmy.
Shout out, Jimmy. Got you a couch.
But I appreciate you coming by. That was I appreciate you like sharing your stories. That's always not always an easy thing to do.
It's not, but I love it. I mean, it's what keeps us going. I think it's what keeps donation relevant. And if nothing else, and one person sees this and they talk to their family about it, then I've done my job. I've done it. So,
well, only one person will watch this probably. Who knows? I've tens of people.
Tens of people? Then maybe 2 people.
Hey!
Maybe 2 people will go on Donate Life and register to be a donor because of it.
Okay, well, we'll put that in the description. We'll put the link in the description.
Okay, Donate Life.
And everything like that.
Yeah.
Erika, thank you again for coming by.
Yeah, thanks
Wish
for
you
having me, Josh.
a safe trip to Texas.
Yeah, I can't wait. Go back home to some flooding.
Oh God, yeah. Well,
it's bad. I mean, it's
so bad.
It's terrible. So I'm gonna go love on my own family because I know I just need to right now.
It's the time.
So thank you so much.
See you guys.
Bye.